Hello, good night, good evening, everyone. My name is Stacy Gomez, and I'm with Shernette Smith. We're with known as Legal Halifax Chibuktuk, and tonight we are hosting a webinar, our first webinar of the season, called Migrant Worker Checklist, and it is an online webinar packed with lots of useful information for new migrant workers to the province. And we hope that the information will be helpful. We will be collecting questions throughout the presentation. So I'm going to put up the number here. You can send us messages on WhatsApp at 902-329-9595 throughout the presentation. So we'll keep that up, and feel free to send us questions throughout the event. And just to give an overview, we're going to pass it over to Shernette, who will be leading the presentation, providing the presentation. And we will then open it up for a question and answer segment after Shernette's presentation. So feel free to send us questions, and we will read them out. And we won't share people's names. We'll just keep it anonymous unless you would like us to share your name. Just to repeat, we're here for tonight's webinar on migrant. It's called Migrant Worker Checklist. So I'm going to pass it over to Shernette.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Migrant Worker Checklist webinar. I will be presenting, and I hope you'll find the information useful. So we'll just jump right in. Now, many migrant workers come to Nova Scotia. Whenever they arrive, migrant workers must complete a series of steps to ensure they fulfill their responsibilities, like every other worker in Canada, and also to get access to whatever benefits are available to them. So today we're going to talk about the most important steps the migrant worker needs to take upon entry to Canada, specifically Nova Scotia. Now, as we all know, the most important thing every migrant worker needs to work in Canada is a work permit. But that you would have already gotten automatically upon entry at the airport. The most I will say about it is make sure you check the document. Ensure your name, your employer's name, your work location, etc. are correct. Also, make sure you know when it expires, because that is the day by when you must leave Canada. Now that I've mentioned that, let us go to the first step. So the first step you'll want to take when you enter Canada is to apply for your social insurance number. What is a social insurance number? It's a 9-digit number that a worker must have to work in Canada. Whether you're a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident or a temporary resident, you need a social insurance number to work in Canada or to receive benefits and services from government programs. Now, you can get your social insurance number from a Service Canada. They are responsible for issuing social insurance numbers, and they come now in a paper format. It used to be a little plastic card, but now you just get a confirmation of SIN letter. You may apply in person or by mail or online. The worker is responsible for getting their own SIN, but the employer's responsibility is to take the worker to do the SIN application as soon as possible after the worker's arrival. And there is no fee to apply for a social insurance number. Now, this is important. Your SIN is private and it's illegal for anyone else to use it. You are responsible for protecting your SIN. Temporary workers get a SIN that begins with a 9. These numbers expire whenever the work permit expires. However, you must still protect it, because if you come back to work in Canada on a new work permit, the number never changes. It's only renewed. The only time your social insurance number can be changed is when you become a permanent resident, for example, or maybe if the SIN was reported for fraud, like probably you lost it and someone else got hold of it and tried to use it illegally. So the best practice is to try to memorize the number and keep your social insurance number in a secure place. So you'll be able to use it in the future for things like filing your taxes or applying for benefits. Now, when you go to apply for your social insurance number, you'll need to take some documents with you. So if you apply by mail or in person, you may only submit original documents. But if you apply online, you can submit digital copies of your documents. The digital copies must be clear and legible, however. So these required documents, they break them down into sections like you have to have a primary document, which would usually be your work permit issued by IRCC, and a secondary document like your foreign passport and your proof of address. The proof of address can be a lease from a landlord, for example, or your employer attesting to your address, because usually migrant workers live on a farm or an employer's property or something like that. So your employer would verify your address in that case. Now, after you apply for your social insurance number, you can take the next important step, which is to open a bank account. So, employers will usually take migrant workers to a bank to get their account open, but if they don't, workers can make an appointment online or over the phone to start the process, and then you can complete it at a convenient time. Complete it meaning you have to go in sometimes to make a wet signature or sign on a document in front of the bank staff so that they'll record your signature as authentic in that session. To open a bank account, most banks require the applicant to provide their social insurance number as well, and 2 pieces of identification, and again, the proof of address. Now, you might want to know, what bank should you choose? Migrant workers can use any bank that has personal banking. And to compare options and ensure the bank is legitimate, you may use the Government of Canada's account comparison tool, which is available online. This usually lists banks, the different banks, and if it's listed there, usually it is a legitimate bank. So the link to the site is here, and think Stacy can share it in the chat while I'm here talking, or I'll share it at the end. So if anyone needs it, they can have it. So it's good to consider whether the bank is easily accessible and whether you will be able to withdraw your funds from your home country when you go back there. So I think some of the banks use something called Plus or Interact, that they have branches all over the world. Internationally, you can access them. It's a good idea to find out when you're opening your account if that's a shared feature in your country. Now, what account should you choose? Ask about newcomer to Canada bank accounts. You may check online or ask your employer or more experienced workers for advice about accounts that may be available, or you may ask the representatives at the bank about accounts designated for newcomers to Canada, okay? Consider an account that is either no fee or low fee. You only need a checking account to do your daily banking, like to get your pay deposited or to make purchases from with a debit card instead of carrying large amount of cash around. But the bank representative may advise you or introduce you to 2 accounts, a checking and a savings account. When an account is designated as a savings account, you should not use it directly to pay for anything. Otherwise, you're going to incur some high banking fees. So bear that in mind. If you do decide to take a savings alongside your checking account, you should not do any transactions out of the savings account because it's considered a true savings. Whatever money goes into your checking account, you can deposit some of it into your savings as true savings. But if something happens in the future and you need to use that money, then withdraw it from your savings and deposit it again into your checking account so you can have access to it there. So get the bank representatives to help you set up your online banking while you're there. If you have a phone that's compatible, they can help you set it up on that. And if you don't, they can help you to set it up on their computer. And then whenever it's convenient, you can access it from another computer or your phone. This way, you will be able to use the online banking to transfer the money from savings to checking or vice versa to get access to it wherever you want. And this practice will prevent you from paying all those expensive banking fees associated with debiting money directly from your savings account. Now, some other things to consider. Please do not use other banks' machines. Your bank will have their own ATMs that you can access your funds from. If you try to use another bank's machines, it's going to incur additional charges. And when you come to Canada to work, you're not looking to pay all kinds of fees for stuff. You want to see how much of your money you can save for yourself or to support your family back home, for example. You don't want to be spending all kinds of money on banking fees. And another thing, of course, is to write down your passwords, keep them in a safe place. It is best to memorize these things, but if you have difficulty remembering sometimes, as I am prone to do, it's a good idea to write them down. Just make sure you keep them private, keep them in a safe place. Now, the following steps are not really mandatory, but they may be useful to newcomers. So I included these as well. Like, for example, a Nova Scotia ID card. Some migrant workers may want to apply for a Nova Scotia ID card, which could be useful if they need to do business that needs more than one government issued ID. Many workers may have arrived with only their passport as a proper form of identification, so this ID could be very useful. To apply for the Nova Scotia ID, you would go to an Access Nova Scotia Center, and there is a fee to that application. It's $17.70 right now, and the ID is usually valid for approximately 5 years from the day when it's issued. Now, the documents you require to get a Nova Scotia ID, again, you will need to provide one document with your name and age, like a passport or a birth certificate, and then another document with your name and signature, like a health card, a credit card, or your bank card. Some other things to consider. Your contract. As migrant workers, you should get a copy of your contract. Make sure you read it. Please read it. Your contract outlines the details of your employment in Canada. For example, it tells your hours of work, your break periods, wages, sick days, what your duties are, etc. To ensure that they match your job requirements, you have to read your contract and know what's included. Okay? Then there's the health coverage. Migrant workers are covered when they enter Canada, although your employer may not yet have a card to give you when you enter. The coverage ensures that if you get sick or injured at any time from day one, you can go to the doctor. If a significant period passes and you still have not received your health card, you may ask your employer for it. And if you still don't get it, you can reach out to us and we'll try to see how we can help you to get that from your employer. Now, the relevant legislation that is important for you to know include like the Nova Scotia labor standards. The Nova Scotia labor standards sets out the minimum employment rules in Nova Scotia that employers and employees have to follow. It sets out the rules specific to the recruitment and hiring of foreign workers like yourselves. Employees, employers, and recruiters have rights and responsibilities under these rules. If you believe any of the rules have been broken, you can file a complaint with the Labor Standards Division. For occupational health and safety, your health and safety is protected in the workplace by the Nova Scotia's Occupational Health and Safety Act and regulations. They're a key part of Nova Scotia's workplace safety and insurance system. So they promote, coordinate, administer, and enforce occupational health and safety wherever migrant workers are employed. So these are important documents that you can get copies of and read them in your leisure so that you'll know what your rights and responsibilities are and what your employer's rights and responsibilities are as well under those bits of legislation. If you need help reaching out to any of these organizations at any time or need support getting help from them, please reach out to us again. Where No One is Illegal, Halifax, and we can help you with those things. Other resources to consider too. There are many resources and services that are available to migrant workers in the community. They include things like food banks, mental health services. Now, mental health services, you are able to access them. If you feel isolated, depressed, stressed from work, separation from family, etc., even if you are just feeling overwhelmed, you may reach out to someone who offers these services and they will be able to assist you. Also, sexual health services are available. In many areas where migrant workers live and work, they have health centers, hospitals, clinics that offer these services. Services may include things like birth control, sexually transmitted infection testing or treatment, pregnancy tests, etc. So if you need help with things like those, you can reach out to them. Now, I know you may be wondering, I'm telling you about all these things, but I'm not telling you how to access them. Well, the only numbers you will ever need to remember are 211 and 811. Both of these numbers are accessible 24/7. And 811 is a bilingual contact center with translation services offered where they are available. 211 is available in over 100 different languages. When you call 211, you can explain what you are looking for, tell them the area that you live in or the area that you need the service in. Their community navigators will refer you to resources, programs, and services in your community that will meet your needs. 811, on the other hand, is a telehealth service where you can find registered nurses that can provide reassurance concerning your general health issues and answer your health related questions. Health information and advice may include self care at home, or a recommendation to see a care provider or visit a local emergency department. It depends on what you are experiencing in the moment when you call. The RN will use what you tell them to make an assessment and refer you accordingly. If you have an emergency, anything at all that's life threatening, you just need to call 911. It will connect you to the fire, the police, and the ambulance. So those are the three emergency services we have: fire, police, and ambulance. There is no charge to call 911 from any phone in Nova Scotia. You may even use a payphone. If you see a payphone anywhere, you can use that to call 911. Anyone in Nova Scotia can call 911. And also the 211 I mentioned before and 811, those numbers are also free to call. Now, while you're here and working as a migrant worker in Nova Scotia, If ever you feel like you're being abused, or if you feel like you're at risk of being abused by your employer, you may be eligible to apply for an open work permit for vulnerable workers. For more information on that, you may see our video, The Migrant Workers Mobility Workshop, on YouTube, where we discussed the vulnerable worker open work permit and immigration programs that may be available in Nova Scotia for you to advance to permanent residency. I have the link here on the slide, and I'm sure Stacy will also share that one in the chat. So you may contact us at No One Is Illegal, Halifax, Chipuktuk, and our number is here on the screen, 902-329-9595. You may also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And this is basically it. These are the sources for the information I shared here in this video, and we'll share the ones that we discussed. Now, does anyone have any questions?
Thanks a lot, Shernette. That was really great, useful information.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone who's tuning in. It's great to see people's messages.
Awesome.
Yeah, I will just shift us here. So
Okay.
yeah, just a reminder, if you have any questions about any of the information that Shernette has shared, feel free to send us a question on WhatsApp, and we will happily share your question and respond to your question.
Yeah.
No,
And
yeah,
I hope that the presentation was of value and that you now feel more informed as a new migrant worker. Are you getting an echo?
yeah. I think that is my computer. I'm just going to
Okay.
shift.
So, yes, I was saying I hope that it was of value and that migrant workers will feel more informed or more empowered by this presentation. And as I said before, if you need further information about anything that was mentioned here, you can always reach out to us. If you need support, you can reach out to us at No One Is Illegal at Halifax, Shipuktuk. Our WhatsApp number is there. We shared it in the chat as well. And please follow us on social media so we can continue to share with you and keep you informed about events or any important changes that affect migrant workers in Nova Scotia.
Mhm. Yes, thanks a lot, Shernette. And yes, if you are um, connected to us already, you'll know that we regularly share updates around some developments that are happening here in Nova Scotia. So
Mhm.
yeah, just encourage you to get in touch if you're not already in touch with us, just to say hi, and we are happy to share information with you. And yeah, also you can share contact with others, and we're happy to be in contact with more people. And yeah, even if sometimes we get connected to people in other provinces, and
Mhm.
so if that happens, we'll also connect people to, if there's an organization that is more local, we're happy to connect people. And we're part of a broad network throughout the country. So yeah, I just want to mention that. So yeah, we are here for your questions. And one thing I would also add is that so Service Canada has a tip line where you can make a complaint anonymously if you are facing abuse, or if you
Mhm.
are if your contract is not being respected. Let's say if you're being asked to do something outside of your contract. So I'm going to share the number in the chat. So you have that number, and you can make a complaint anonymously or not. Yeah, we're also happy to chat with you more about that complaint mechanism, and share from some of the experiences that we've heard from other workers who've used it. And a complaint could lead to an inspection on site, so that's something to
Mhm.
be just to know that could happen. So yeah, I will share that in the comments as we wait for questions.
Okay.
Let me see. Here it is. Okay. All right. And just to share, I know that one question that we sometimes get is, what is the minimum wage in Nova Scotia? And it is $12.95 currently, but that is going to be increasing slightly in April, and there will be another increase the following year. So we can try to get that information up and share that with you, just so that you know those specifics. So that's going to be coming up, and minimum wage is what you the minimum that you need to be paid for any work in Nova Scotia.
Definitely. So that means even if their contract had the old wage on it, when the increase takes effect, the employer has to match that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And as of, let's see, it says as of April 1st, Nova Scotia's minimum wage will increase to $13.35.
Awesome.
Yes, and a further increase will occur on October 1st, 2022. Let's see. I'm just going to verify that this is the most up-to-date information.
Okay.
And come back to this.
Okay, that's good. That's good news, though, that it will be increased April. That is very welcome news. I'm quite pleased about that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So there is a commitment to increase the minimum wage to $15 per hour by 2024. So that's another piece of news. Though, we've heard some feedback from workers. Would love to hear your feedback on what your thoughts are about that. Some of what we've heard so far is that that's too slow, and the rising cost of living in the province, with the minimum wage isn't keeping up with it. There has been a movement for a $15 minimum wage. Now it's for a $20 minimum wage, recognizing that the cost of living is continuing to increase, and the changes are
inflation is running away from the wages. Yeah.
Yes. So we have a question here. How do I know that I'll be coming back to Nova Scotia this year? So this is a good question. Wow. Yes. And I think that yes, usually this would be more in terms of with the ministry in Jamaica. So we aren't too much in the loop around that. Exactly. Unfortunately, so we wouldn't be able to share more information around that.
The only thing I think, some employers do request some workers back. So if it's a situation like that where an employer requests a worker, they might come back to the same employer year after year. Other than that, we really cannot tell who will be sent where, because as part of the contract, I guess they can just send you wherever in Canada that needs workers if you're a migrant worker.
Yes. Yes. All right, let's see if we have any questions over here. I have some messages. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that question. And I have another question. Someone's asking for us to share the link, so I will do that.
Which one of the link was it?
I'm going to send both of them for YouTube and Facebook. Okay, there we are. And let's see if we have any other questions here. Not for the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for your questions. If you have other questions, feel free to send us a message on WhatsApp, or if you would like, you can also share it on social media, and we will respond. And yeah, thanks to everyone who has joined so far. And yeah, also just to mention that, which I mentioned earlier on, this is our first webinar of this season, and we are planning to have other webinars on different topics, including what you can do if you have a workplace injury, around labor standards. We talked about what you can do if your contract's not being respected. Labor standards is one avenue. So we'll have future workshops. And also, if you have suggestions for topics that you would like to find out more about, you can definitely contact us and let us know. And we, yeah, definitely want to,
Yes, we want to
have,
know.
we
We
want to
want to
know.
know what interests migrant workers, right?
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. And also, just to mention that this event is being recorded on YouTube and Facebook. So if you would like to share it with others later, you'll be able to do that by just sharing that link where you tuned in.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely encourage you to do that.
Or if they missed the first part, for example, they can go back and watch it from the start. So that's good that we had it recorded.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. So we will hang out for a little while and see if there's any questions. And otherwise, and after a while, we will close and just share the next webinar once we have the schedule finalized.
Definitely.
Right. Yeah, I think it is helpful. I think there's a lot of useful resources that, like 211 that you mentioned, that can connect you to many different resources.
Yes.
So very handy. Yeah, there's a lot of resources that exist in the city and in the province.
Definitely.
And if you have any questions about any resources, also feel free to reach out. And
Yeah. I like 211. I've used it quite a bit and it's easy to remember. It's really cool because when you call and they ask you what you're looking for, you tell them, they ask where you are, like your address, and you tell them that. And they search their database and they find several options to give you so you can get what you need. So, for example, if you're looking for something simple as a food bank, they will tell you where all the food banks are that you might be able to travel to easily, where you can get access. Yeah. I like
yes.
211 a lot. It's very useful.
Mm-hmm.
I've used it to
Yes.
find lawyers and what else did I called them to find out something recently. I don't remember what it was, but they have a list of everything you can think of over there. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, another useful resource I think is also the library.
Yes.
If you want to get materials from the library or computer use or even printing, libraries are often very helpful.
Definitely, they are. I can attest to that. They have copiers and everything there. If you want to apply for stuff and you need copies of documents, you can get them there. And they even have a free credit that you can use to print stuff. You don't even have to apply for a proper library card because of course for joining the library you need documents as well. You might need to use your passport or your Nova Scotia ID for that. And they'll give you a library card. But if you don't have a standard library card that usually lasts like forever, you can get a temporary one that you can use for about 6 months, where your migrant workers maybe you don't want to commit to having a long-term library card. You can get one of those, and it allows you to borrow items from the library as well as use stuff at the library, and it gives you access to online resources as well in the library catalog. It's very
Mm-hmm.
useful indeed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. So many, yeah, so many useful materials.
Yeah.
Even like DVDs or music and books, and I mean the traditional library things, and then so many things. And also they have lots of programming and events often. So yeah,
Actually,
lots.
it's surprising that I had forgotten to include it in this presentation, because the library is one of my most favorite things. And usually, when migrants come in, that's one of the first places I take them to get them to join the library, because I know how much
Mm-hmm.
there is that the library can offer. And I was an immigrant as well. I came here about 10 years ago from Jamaica, and I practically lived at the library my first 2 years. So everything was done at the library. I used to search the computer, like you can get 2 hours. I think, what was it? I think at the time it was 2 hours a day, 120
Mm-hmm.
minutes. And I'd just go there to surf the internet. And I learned about Kijiji at the library, and I was able to
Mm-hmm.
log on to find furniture, stuff like that, secondhand, and it was very useful for me. And then when I was applying for my extension of status to extend my work permit, and to apply for my daughter's visitor's status to be extended, when I was applying for my permanent residency, I did all the documentation, photocopies, creating documents to upload or to print out and send to somewhere. And it was very helpful for me because
Mm-hmm.
it didn't come with a large cost, or I don't even
Mm-hmm.
think I paid money to do a lot of those things. So it
Mm-hmm.
was very useful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And they also have the scanner. Sometimes,
Yes.
yeah, lots of
And
useful
even
things.
they tell you other stuff as well. I remember once I was trying to get to somewhere and I did not know the way. And I went to the library, and the librarian helped me to map the route and printed it out on a sheet of
Mm-hmm.
paper. And
Mm-hmm.
I was able to follow that to get to where I was going. Librarians here are very, very useful. You
Mm-hmm.
know, yes,
Yes, yes. Such a important community resource, the
definitely.
library. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, so I see we have a question. Um, we have a question. If I don't get a call from my employer, would you guys be able to send a request for me and also find me a job? Um,
Well, no, that is not something that we can do. It is illegal, for one thing, because only a licensed recruiter can recruit a foreign worker. You have to go through several stages to become a licensed recruiter in Nova Scotia, and you have to be made a member of a certain organization. They actually have a list of licensed recruiters that you can search and find online. So, for example, I am an immigration consultant, but I only do paperwork for people who want to come to Canada. I cannot go to an employer to try to find a worker for them, or try to get a job for a worker who is looking to come to Canada. If the worker gets a job, then I can take it from there. And if the employer finds a worker, I can also take it from there. But the recruiting part of it, it has to be done by a licensed recruiter, and it's all governed by labor standards as well. So
mhm,
it's not possible to do that,
mhm,
unfortunately.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Jeanette. And we do have a question here. I think this, yeah, I'll read it out. Why do some farm workers get different pay? For example, the ones picking strawberries and raking the blueberries get below minimum wage. Uh, the employer says that we work to pay ourselves. Um, and let's see, when let's see. So I'm gonna maybe not share part of it just because we want to ensure people's privacy.
Yes,
Um,
confidentiality reasons.
Yes, yes. And the question is, should it be like that, or should we all be getting the minimum wage? So thanks a lot for sharing that question. That's a really important question. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, everyone in the province should be getting minimum wage. You
Definitely.
can, if you are working and you're getting a piece rate, it can it can make your wage higher than a minimum wage, but you
Should
can't
not be
earn less
over.
than the minimum wage. So if that is happening, you can make a complaint to Nova Scotia Labor Standards, and we can chat with you more about that as an option, and see if there's other options. But yes, that should not be happening. It is the minimum wage for everyone in the province.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. I think many people have that issue as well. So
Mhm.
it's good that we got that question. Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, yes, for sure. So I see that we're getting to 8:45. So maybe we will start to wind down.
Mhm.
If you have any questions, further questions, feel free to share them, and we will aim to respond while we're still here. But
Mhm.
if not, we're happy to chat with you directly and answer your questions. So again, you can reach us at any time by just sending us a message on WhatsApp. Our number is
Mhm.
902 329 9595.
Yeah.
And I'll just shift this here so you can keep in touch with us that way.
Mhm.
And we will keep you posted if we around future webinars that we're planning to host.
Mhm.
And again, if you have any concerns at work, or if you're looking for more information about something, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to support and point you in the right direction of other resources if that's what makes the most sense.
Definitely.
So yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks so much, Shernette, for the presentation. And
Thank you so much, Stacy.
yes, that was great.
Yeah.
And if you have any comments, like if you found the information useful or if you felt like there was something missing, feel free to reach out to us. And yeah, we always appreciate hearing from you. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.